Hello everyone, welcome to Alex's Animal Channel. In this short video I'm going to show you how I made a 3 foot wide by 2 foot deep by 2 foot tall vivarium for my corn snake. So to make this vivarium I used 80mm OSB. The reason I used OSB, it's not the best for vivariums, however I had this spur from a previous project. On the screen right now is the cut list that I used. Feel free to pause the video, take notes, take a picture of the cut list. Feel free, if you wanted to make a bigger vivarium than the one I've made, mine is just under 3 foot. Add extra centimetres to the measurements for the top and the bottom. They're the ones that determine the width of the vivarium. As you can see, mine's set at 95 centimetres. Feel free to go as big as you want. If you wanted a deeper vivarium, add extra centimetres to the 55 of the measurements. So that's all the cuts done. Pop them in the car and we'll head home and put it together. So with this project I'll be using the Trend Pocket Hole Jig. Now this is quite an expensive jig, I understand that everyone can't afford it. So feel free to use regular butt joints with just standard screws. This allows me to connect 2 pieces of wood at a 90-degree angle with extreme compatibility, so it just allows 2 pieces of wood to connect to each other really well, without glue, without any form of solvent, just screws. So you can see it drills a hole into the wood at a set angle and allows me to pop a screw in there to drill directly into the other piece of wood. What it does is it drills a 9.5 big hole with a tiny little hole at the end for the screw to go directly into the other piece of wood. As you can see now, I drilled the pocket holes on the wrong side of the wood, as you can see. I'm just trying to explain it to the camera as I did it. So this is the finished hole. You can see it's like they call it a pocket hole because it's a hidden screw hole. So I can pop a screw in there and it will directly allow me to screw into the piece below. I will pop a link in the description to a video explanation made by Trend themselves. But the wood clamps in and then the special drill bit goes into those holes and allows the pocket hole to be created. So I didn't know this at the time of making, but I was using the screws that were 5mm too long in my screw set, which is quite annoying. I ended up having to grind quite a lot towards the end of the video. On the note at the bottom of the screen, I recommend using the 30mm screws if you're using 18mm OSB. If it's any bigger, then go to town, use a bit of a longer screw. However, with 18mm, I recommend the 30s. So now there's a little bit of a demonstration on how the pocket holes work. So you can see the screw goes into that pocket hole and directly into the other piece of wood to allow for that hidden hole. Now you can fill it full of filler if you wanted, or a dowel and cut the dowel off. However, because this was going in a very tight space in my room, I didn't mind because those would be hidden anyway. That's the project shell together. Right now it's just a box. However, it's coming together quite quickly. So this is the back piece. Now this is a 3mm piece of furniture board that was again scavenged from IKEA from the free bins outside. So they have, in every IKEA they have a big bin outside full of pre-owned timber that's been returned, maybe a damaged project or such, and as long as you give a donation to their charity you get the wood for free, which is quite nice because this board is terrible to transport in its big size, so this piece was quite convenient. I did snap it in half to get it in the car as well, As you can see, I hurt myself stupidly, but so it was a great piece. So it just got tacked to the back. It's very oversized, however, in a couple of minutes we will start cutting the edges off. So to cut the edges off, what I did was I measured the width of the vivarium, and then in set increments with that measurement I went across and drew a little dot. I think the vivarium worked out at 55 centimeters tall, was it, in the end? I can't remember. And I marked that all the way along. And then with a straight piece of timber or a straight edge, I joined all those lines up. This allowed me then to find the edge of the wood to tack it in place before cutting. I then did the same on the long edge, so measured all the way along, which was that 95 centimeters from before, and then got a straight edge and drew a line and tacked on again. So I cut with the line, I cut that off, and then that was my excess off straight away. I was very happy with the result. As you can see, it was very close to the line, so it seemed to be a good method. Then we were fitting the substrate barrier, so this was like a 10 centimeter wide piece that was on the cut list, and I was explaining then that I wanted the writing on the inside. The edges, I did the pocket holes again and one in the bottom, because there wasn't going to be a lot of substrate in here. It was just going to be beach chip. I don't like using sand or anything for snakes because it gets stuck to the food. As you can see, I did a little dry fit, fitted quite well, and it was very tight but very nicely fitted. I just screwed it into place. Because this vivarium was entering a family house, I gave it a really good sand everywhere for a good 10 minutes just to make sure everything was fine. And I was also planning to varnish this, so it allows the varnish to adhere to the wood a little bit better. However, I did start ripping the sandpaper because of the exposed screws that I mentioned before. So I just ground those down, just down to the wood line, just so they weren't in the way and wouldn't damage anyone. So then I'd finished sanding, so just a quick walk around to show you what we've built already. So it's resembling a vivarium a little bit more. And then we went on to painting. Now the painting was probably the most integral part. For a species as a corn snake, they're quite dry, they don't require much humidity. However, if you're making a vivarium for, say, I don't know, a toad or something like this, I wouldn't recommend using OSB anyway, but if you do, I'd use a lot of varnish. So then it was starting to glue on the glass runners. Now these glass runners were 5mm glass runners. I cannot find a link of where I bought these from. However, I will put the measurements of them in the description, because you will need a specific size of runners for the specific size of glass what you use. I stuck this down with grip fill, which is like a very strong solvent, and it's not particularly safe for reptiles. However, for a species that isn't going to chew it or eat it like a snake, I thought it was okay. And I did let it to air for 2 weeks outside before bringing the snake into the vivarium. You've got to be very careful with this stuff because it's extremely tacky. When it gets tacky very quickly, so once you put it on, you've got to leave it overnight and it will stay. So the viv's upside down at the moment, but you can see we've glued both sides down, and I left it overnight just to dry. So unfortunately I didn't film it, but when I got the glass and I tried to fit it, the glass actually fell out of the vivarium because I put the runners too, or maybe I ordered the glass a bit too small. So what I did was, I'm just grinding some screws off then. However, I ripped the top channel off and I put a really thick bead of grit fill on the channel, so to raise the glass runner up just by a few millimeters, and this seemed to work. Unfortunately, I lost the clip of me dry fitting the glass. However, this is the finished project with the snake in. I waited 2 weeks and left the vivarium outside for the glue and the varnish to evaporate from the vivarium, so it was definitely safe for the corn snake. However, as you can see, it's all happy. She's happy. She's been in there for about 3 weeks now. No bothers. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment just so I know that you enjoyed it, because it really helps me out. Thank you very much. Bye bye.